Good day and God bless you. Welcome to the Bible reading in chronological order. Just such a privilege to once again be with you and sharing in God's word with you today. I pray that the Lord would bless us and lead us even as we would go through his word together. Today we're going to be moving into the second book of Samuel, and we're going to be focusing particularly on chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's get straight into it. We left the first book of Samuel with the death of Saul and his sons. And this was actually such a tragic event. We see that Saul, he falls upon his sword. The Bible says we don't know if he died at that exact moment, whether he struggled or something. But we're going to see something very interesting as we go through chapter 1 of the second book of Samuel. So this was finally the time that David would take the throne, and anyone perceptive enough to realize it, they would have quickly solidified their allegiance to David. We can see that. I mean, David was anointed king. The people knew that David was going to be king. And even though Saul, this is why Saul chased after him so hard, because he wanted his line to continue. So the people really would have been perceptive to David taking the throne. Now, an Amalekite runs to David and brings him tidings of the battle and reveals that Saul and Jonathan are dead. Now, when David questions him as to how he knows this, the man, in an attempt to ingratiate himself to David, tells him a story of how he actually slew Saul and brought the crown and the bracelet to David. Now, this could be true that when Saul fell upon his sword that he didn't die immediately, and this man saw that Saul was gonna die, but he wasn't dying, and so he killed him. It could be that this man saw that Saul fell upon his sword, or just saw the body of Saul and then made up the story to tell David. But whatever it was, he was trying to ingratiate himself with David. And David, on the other hand, he laments the death of Saul and Jonathan and commands one of his men to slay the Amalekite for killing the Lord's anointed. We're going to see more about David's nature then when we get to chapter 4, but we'll come to that as we go on. Then we get to chapter 2 and we see David, by direction of the Lord, goes up to Hebron, and there is made king over Judah. But Abner, he was the servant of Saul, he makes Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, king over Israel, where Ishbosheth reigned actually for 2 years. Now, we always think of David just killing Goliath. We know he battled with Saul a little bit, but then we know that he became king. We don't realize that for 2 whole years, the kingdom of Israel was split into 2. Now, then it comes to a very strange event, because it came to pass that Abner and Joab. Now, Abner was the servant of Saul. Joab was the servant of David. They sat together, and then they told their men to engage in a battle to see which army was best. They, the Bible puts it in a very beautiful way. When you get to it, you'll see how beautiful it is, that they wanted some entertainment, basically, so they told their men to fight each other. But it turned into a serious battle, and the armies started killing each other to the point where they were running after Abner, and they were just about to slay Abner. Joab's brother actually is running after Abner, and Abner kills Joab's brother. And we see that out of David's army, 19 men were killed, but out of Abner's army, 360 men died that day. So this is very strange. The story is very strange, and we're going to see in chapter 3. Let's just move into chapter 3. The battle between the kings and the kingdoms worsened, but David's army grew stronger while Saul's army waxed weaker. But Abner, even though he was the leader of Saul's army, he actually became much more famous. He grew more famous, and he grew stronger. Now, when he was accused of going into Saul's concubine by Ishbosheth, Abner revolts against him and turns the hearts of the cities to David, for David now to be king over Israel. But when Joab hears that David had entertained Abner and sent Abner away in peace, he tells David that Abner is there for calamity. Abner is actually a spy, so he runs after Abner without David's knowledge, And then he is speaking with Abner, and then he slays Abner. And when David finds out about this, he mourns the death of Abner. He actually has a fast because he is so grieved by Abner's death. And the people saw the sincerity of David in the weeping of someone who was actually a foe to him in previous times. So it's just a very strange passage, this chapters 2 and 3, but actually we see how then this happens. Now there's something you would have picked up in the reading, and as you go through the reading today, you will pick it up about how these men were slain, from Saul down to Joab's brother, and then to Abner. How they were slain is very particular that it's mentioned. Take note of that. If you do want to know more about it, please put the question in the comment. But let's just see. I really want you to engage with the text before I just give you the answer. But it's very interesting there. Then we get to chapter 4, and in this chapter we see the nature of David and his desire to be righteous and do righteously before the Lord. Now there's two captains of Ishbosheth's army. After seeing how feeble he became after the news of Abner's death, they slay Ishbosheth in his home while he slept and cut off his head and took it to Hebron. This is gruesome. It is ugly. But this is what people do to try and ingratiate themselves with the new leaders. Any lesser leader would have accepted this as an allegiance to them, but David saw it as treachery and commanded his men to slay them for taking an innocent life. And David actually, he is angry with them, and he says, if you think I was happy when that Amalekite came to tell me about Saul's death, I killed him. How much more do you think I'm gonna do to you because of the way you've killed Ishbosheth? The man was innocent. He was sleeping. He wasn't even in battle. How could you do this to him? So we see the nature of David come through there. He wants to do what's right. He wants to honor the Lord's way. He wants to gain the victory that the Lord gives him, not do it in a way just for his own gain, but he wants to honor the Lord in the way that he would do things. So then we see that the head of Ishbosheth was buried in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. And this is something that he does honor to Ishbosheth, even though the kingdoms were separated, even though David should have been king over all of Israel, but David does right by him. But in this chapter, we also learn about Jonathan's son, who became lame after being dropped as a child. Now, this will be important in chapters to come, so don't think it's just an irrelevant point put in there in this passage. It's very important that we understand that as we go through it. But that's where we're going to close the reading today. I pray that the Lord would bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. May he give you peace. God bless you as you enjoy the reading today.
The second book of Samuel, otherwise called the second book of the Kings. Chapter 1. Now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag, it came even to pass on the 3rd day, that behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent, and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth and did obeisance. And David said unto him,
From whence comest thou?
And he said unto him,
Out of the camp of Israel am I escaped.
And David said unto him,
How went the matter? I pray thee, tell me.
And he answered, that the people are fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen and dead. And Saul and Jonathan his son are dead also. And David said unto the young man that told him,
How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son be dead?
And the young man that told him said,
As I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me, and called unto me. And I answered, Here am I. And he said unto me, Who art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite. He said unto me again, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me, for anguish is come upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. So I stood upon him, and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head, and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them hither unto my lord.
Then David took hold on his clothes, and rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. And they mourned and wept and fasted until even for Saul and for Jonathan his son, and for the people of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they were fallen by the sword. And David said unto the young man that told him,
Whence art thou?
And he answered,
I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite.
And David said unto him,
How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?
And David called one of the young men and said,
Go near and fall upon him.
And he smote him that he died. And David said unto him,
Thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth hath testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Lord's anointed.
And David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. Also he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher.
The beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How are the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Ascalon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty is vilely cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the sword of Saul returned not empty. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet, with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. How are the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished.
Chapter 2. And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying,
Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah?
And the Lord said unto him, Go up. And David said,
Whither shall I go up?
And he said, Unto Hebron. So David went up thither, and his two wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying, that the men of Jabesh-Gilead were they that buried Saul. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh-Gilead, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have showed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord show kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because ye have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant. For your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. But Abner the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. And Joab the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David, went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab,
Let the young men now arise and play before us.
And Joab said,
Let them arise.
Then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one his fellow by the head, and thrust his sword in his fellow's side, so they fell down together. Wherefore that place was called Helkath Hazurim, which is in Gibeon. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel, before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, and Abishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe. And Asahel pursued after Abner, and in going he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. Then Abner looked behind him and said,
Art thou Asahel?
And he answered,
I am.
And Abner said to him,
Turn thee aside to thy right hand or to thy left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor.
But Asahel would not turn aside from following of him. And Abner said again to Asahel,
Turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab thy brother?
Howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner, with the hinder end of the spear, smote him under the fifth rib, that the spear came out behind him. And he fell down there, and died in the same place. And it came to pass, that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died, stood still. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner. And the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lieth before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of an hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said,
Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren?
And Joab said,
As God liveth, unless thou hadst spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up, every one from following his brother.
So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still, and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. And Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain, and passed over Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab returned from following Abner. And when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men and Asahel. But the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. And they took up Asahel, and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at break of day. Chapter 3. Now there was long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. And unto David were sons born in Hebron, and his firstborn was Amnon of Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and his second Chileab of Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom the son of Maacah the daughter of Talmai king of Geshur, and the fourth Adonijah the son of Haggith, and the fifth Shephatiah the son of Abital, and the sixth Ithream by Eglah David's wife. These were born to David in Hebron. And it came to pass, while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, that Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine, whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner,
Wherefore hast thou gone in unto my father's concubine?
Then was Abner very wroth for the words of Ishbosheth, and said,
Am I a dog's head? Which against Judah do show kindness this day unto the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren and to his friends, and have not delivered thee into the hand of David, that thou chargest me today with a fault concerning this woman? So do God to Abner, and more also, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba.
And he could not answer Abner a word again, because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, Whose is the land? Saying also, Make thy league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with thee to bring about all Israel unto thee. And he said,
Well, I will make a league with thee, but one thing I require of thee, that is, thou shalt not see my face, except thou first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when thou comest to see my face.
And David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, Deliver me my wife Michal, which I espoused to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. And Ishbosheth sent, and took her from her husband, even from Phaltiel the son of Laish. And her husband went with her along, weeping behind her to Bahurim. Then said Abner unto him,
Go, return!
And he returned. And Abner had communication with the elders of Israel, saying,
Ye sought for David in times past to be king over you. Now then do it. For the Lord hath spoken of David, saying, By the hand of my servant David, I will save my people Israel out of the hand of the Philistines, and out of the hand of all their enemies.
And Abner also spake in the ears of Benjamin. And Abner went also to speak in the ears of David in Hebron all that seemed good to Israel, and that seemed good to the whole house of Benjamin. So Abner came to David to Hebron, and 20 men with him. And David made Abner and the men that were with him a feast. And Abner said unto David,
I will arise and go, and will gather all Israel unto my lord the king, that they may make a league with thee, and that thou mayest reign over all that thine heart desireth.
And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop, and brought in a great spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he was gone in peace. When Joab and all the host that was with him were come, they told Joab, saying,
Abner, the son of Ner, came to the king, and he hath sent him away, and he is gone in peace.
Then Joab came to the king and said,
What hast thou done? Behold, Abner came unto thee. Why is it that thou hast sent him away, and he is quite gone? Thou knowest Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive thee, and to know thy going out and thy coming in, and to know all that thou doest.
And when Joab was come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, which brought him again from the well of Sirah. But David knew it not. And when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the 5th rib, that he died, for the blood of Asahel his brother. And afterward, when David heard it, he said,
I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord forever from the blood of Abner the son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house. And let there not fail from the house of Joab one that hath an issue, or that is a leper, or that leaneth on a staff, or that falleth on the sword, or that lacketh bread.
So Joab and Abishai his brother slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Asahel at Gibeon in the battle. And David said to Joab and to all the people that were with him,
Rend your clothes and gird you with sackcloth, and mourn before Abner.
And King David himself followed the bier. And they buried Abner in Hebron. And the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. And the king lamented over Abner and said,
Died Abner as a fool dieth? Thy hands were not bound, nor thy feet put into fetters. As a man falleth before wicked men, so fellest thou.
And all the people wept again over him. And when all the people came to cause David to eat meat while it was yet day, David sware, saying,
So do God to me and more also, if I taste bread or aught else till the sun be down.
And all the people took notice of it, and it pleased them, as whatsoever the king did pleased all the people. For all the people and all Israel understood that day that it was not of the king to slay Abner the son of Ner. And the king said unto his servants,
Know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel? And I am this day weak, though anointed king. And these men, the sons of Zeruiah, be too hard for me. The Lord shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness.
Chapter 4. And when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. And Saul's son had 2 men that were captains of bands. The name of the one was Baanah, and the name of the other Rechab, the sons of Rimmon, a Beerothite of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth also reckoned to Benjamin, and the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and were sojourners there until this day. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. And the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who lay on a bed at noon. And they came thither into the midst of the house, as though they would have fetched wheat. And they smote him under the 5th rib, and Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. For when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bedchamber, and they smote him, and slew him, and beheaded him, and took his head, and gat them away through the plain all night. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron, and said to the king,
Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul thine enemy, which sought thy life.
And the Lord hath avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and of his seed.
And David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said unto them,
As the Lord liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of all adversity, when one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag, who thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. How much more when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed? Shall I not therefore now require his blood of your hand and take you away from the earth?
And David commanded his young men, and they slew them, and cut off their hands and their feet, and hanged them up over the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron.